In this lesson, we're going to start working on the armrests and the armrest supports. So let's turn on our armrest construction curve layer and make that active. And what we have here is just very simple profile curves that we used or that we derived from our original sketch. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take those and I'm going to move them over to one side of the chair by about 10 inches. And that looks to be a good position relative to the side of the chair. Then what I'm going to do is take this top rectangle, which is going to represent for me the kind of outside edge or the side of the armrest, and I'm going to move that over another 5.5 inches. And then I'll just redraw the line here along the top. Now I can see that it looks like the side of my chair is or the inside edge here of the armrest is going to be in conflict with my backrest cushion. But it also looks to me like the bottom of the armrest here is a little bit high up off the seat. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to move this armrest edge down. So I'm going to set my construction plane along this face, and then I can just go in and move so I can reset the gumball here. It's aligned to the C-plane. If I reset it, now when I move, I'm going to be moving perpendicular to this curve. And I'm going to bring it down another inch. All right, then what I can do is I can intersect this curve with the backrest cushion and then move that intersection point away by another 1/2 inch. I can get rid of these arcs now because they're no longer tangent, and I know what I want to use for that radius on the inside, so I'll just be able to fill those later based on those radii. I'm going to redraw this line and delete this one, and then extend this line down. Okay. So now I think I'm in pretty good position. Let me draw my top lines in there. And that looks about right. I think that's going to work for the armrest. So then what I want to do is I'll just turn off these other layers so I don't have quite so much on the screen while I'm working on the armrest. Now before I go any further, I can get rid of that intersection point. And I know that the armrest here from some photos I've been looking at doesn't look like it's 90 degrees here. It's actually more of a slight obtuse angle. So I'm going to grab these curves and I'm going to use my rotate 3D command, establish my axis, and I'm just going to move 3 degrees out of perpendicular. In this case, based on the way I'm rotating, it's going to be -3 degrees. All right, so that looks pretty good. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to start by creating the surfaces I'm going to use for the metal plate, which is actually going to be kind of embedded or in, somewhat inside the cushion. That gets connected to the backrest in the seat and supports the armrest cushion. And that's going to be kind of an offset of what I've got here. So the first thing I want to do, I think the easiest way for me to do this is I'm going to create some planes, just some 4-point planes, or surfaces I should say. And then I'm going to offset those. So I'll use my offset surface command. Start with this, 5/8 of an inch or 0.625, that's good. I do not want a solid, I just want an offset surface. And I just need to flip these so that they offset to the inside. All right, there's one. Let's do the other one. We can also just use the F key to flip. Everything else, the preset is good. So there we go. All right, and now I can get rid of these 2 initial surfaces. Now, I want to trim these, but my vertical surface is not quite big enough to trim my offset horizontal surface. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a plane that's larger than the horizontal surface. I can drag that back to be coplanar with my vertical surface, and then I can use that to trim the horizontal plane. Now I can use the horizontal plane to trim the vertical plane. Oh, it looks like I went a little bit too far with my plane to trim. So let me undo that. All right, it looks like I'm a little bit off because I was using a construction plane which was 90 degrees to that horizontal surface. So what I'm going to do is just use my select surface to orient my C-plane. Now I'll draw another plane, and this one should be perfectly coplanar. That looks better. All right, so I'll redo that trim command, and then I will trim again. There we go. All right, now what I want to do is I want to duplicate the face border of both of these surfaces, and then I want to offset them. So I'll start with my more vertical surface, and I should be able to get rid of these surfaces now. I don't think I'm going to need them anymore. They were just a convenient way to be able to create these edge curves. So now I'm just going to use the offset command again, 5/8 of an inch or 0.625. So I'll offset that curve, and then I will reset my construction plane to be coplanar with my horizontal curve. And I will offset that curve also by 5/8. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to explode this curve and extend the front and back lines out to the edge. So I can use that as my boundary, and I'm just going to extend those two curves. Then I can get rid of that curve. I'm going to take this curve and I'm just going to move it over to the end point here. Then I can get rid of this curve as well. I can explode this curve, and I'm just going to redraw these curves now to connect at the front and the back. All right. So that is where I'm going to start with these. Then what I want to do is I want to start filleting them because this is all going to be curved. So I'm going to take these front and back curves and I'm going to join them. Then I'm going to fillet them with a radius of 7/8 of an inch or 0.875. I do want to join them, and I want to trim them and extend by arc. So that looks good. Okay, so I'm going to fillet there, and then I'm going to fillet there. All right, so that's starting to look good. Now I'm going to use these as references because the next thing I want to do is I want to create an extrusion surface that I'm going to use to then create the plate, and then I'm going to use these lines as references to know where I need to come back in and start trimming that surface. So I think we're going to take care of that in the next lesson. For now, we're going to stop here, and we'll continue on in the next lesson.